If you're like me, remembering passwords is a chore. Just think about how many times you have to click Forgot Password when logging into an account. It's frustrating and is such a time waster. This is where the sponsor of today's video comes in. NordPass solves all of these problems for me. NordPass is more than just a password manager. It's the essential cybersecurity tool that makes everyone's life easier and safer. You have one place to store all of your passwords, so there's no need to memorize them. You can log in to all of your accounts faster because NordPass has an autofill feature that makes it a breeze. NordPass will even generate secure passwords for you, so you can feel confident about storing your credit card and personal information. Now is the time to make your password more secure and stop reusing passwords across different accounts, especially if you happen to use the word password as your password. Get an exclusive NordPass deal plus one additional month for free at nordpass.com/recollectionroad or use the code recollectionroad when you check out. Kitchens in the 1980s were becoming the place everyone wanted to be. The footprint of the kitchen was growing to include a built-in banquet or even a desk for that new computer. And it was made to match the cabinets in honey oak. Kitchen countertops were commonly covered with laminate or tile, and drop ceilings with fluorescent lighting were how you lit your kitchen. White or almond appliances were the colors to have, and walls were usually painted a neutral color. The 1980s also saw wallpaper shrink in size to be just a border that ran along the ceiling to complement the look of the kitchen. To add a layer of bling to any 1980s kitchen, highly polished brass was used for pretty much all the hardware. Pull handles, knobs, and hinges all had a gold-like shimmer, and even the chandelier hanging over the table most likely had arms of polished brass. Under the kitchen countertops, more and more homes could be found with a modern dishwasher. Still, owning a dishwasher came with a hefty price tag in the 1980s, but if you were well-to-do and didn't want to wash up after a family meal, then a dishwasher was a must-have appliance. A dishwasher cycle would often take over 3 hours to complete, so you'd be waiting a while to use the dishes again. Another modern appliance that began showing up more and more was a trash compactor. Some of these appliances claimed to squeeze a week's worth of trash into one small load, but that was rarely the case. It did, however, make you feel like you were contributing a little less to the trash problem of the 1980s. This was a time when consumers were devouring everything in convenient packages, and recycling hadn't quite caught on. Mr. Coffee, the first automatic drip coffee maker for the home, first emerged in the 1970s, but they rapidly grew in popularity, and in the 1980s, they were found in many homes. It featured a modular design with a high-gloss finish, plus it had a patented system for brewing the perfect cup of coffee. Mr. Coffee controlled the water flow and brewed at a slightly lower temperature in order to make the coffee taste better. So it's no wonder it became the best-selling coffee maker in America and dominated the coffee market in the 1980s. The name Cuisinart became synonymous with the food processor. It pulsed and blended and was a workhorse in the kitchen of 1980s homes. Initially, this aspirational appliance was only available at high-end retailers, and the price reflected it. But homemakers everywhere wanted to get their hands on this new device because they had become essential in the kitchens of well-known TV chefs like Julia Child. Novelty drinking glass sets have been used as promotional items for a long time. Many fast food restaurants throughout the 1980s used these collectibles to lure customers into their establishment, and it worked. Burger King had The Empire Strikes Back, Pizza Hut had E.T., and Hardee's had the Smurfs. And it's safe to say that many of us had a variety of these novelty glasses in our kitchen cupboard. The 1980s was filled with infomercials that sold all kinds of kitchen gadgets, but the Ginsu knife was one that stuck. This knife could not only slice through a tin can, but it then could easily slice a tomato, so families snapped them up by the millions. Between 1978 and 1984 alone, nearly 3 million knives were sold on TV. These knives were tough and affordable, so they became one of the most successful as-seen-on-TV products of the 80s. In the early 1980s, movie night with your brand new VHS or Betamax just wouldn't have been the same without some fresh, hot popcorn. The Presto Popcorn Now Air Popper was the easiest way to make popcorn, and it tasted even better with an expensive VHS tape of the latest movie. This was a time before renting movies became more mainstream, and the microwave became an even easier way to cook popcorn. If you didn't own a classic oak kitchen table, then you probably had a more modern glass-topped table. These sleek dining tables were showing up in homes across the country during the 1980s. The glass tabletops may have even been accented in brass, and many of them even had a chunky base that looked like it weighed a ton. Finally, the 1980s saw vertical blinds hanging on just about every window and sliding door in your kitchen. These shades were very popular because of their ability to control the light in a room, and they matched the 80s aesthetic perfectly. The vertical blinds found in the 1980s were made of a variety of materials, including metal, vinyl, and PVC, which gave you options as you shop for window coverings. If you enjoyed this video, check out the description for links that help support the channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching.